Hey everybody, Kevin Henry, editor-in-chief for drbicuspid.com. Thank you so much for joining us. We are continuing a series on customer service in the dental practice, and I know already this has been such a big impact for so many of you, and I'm so thrilled to welcome back Dr. Roger Levin. Dr. Levin, how are you, my friend?
Kevin, couldn't be better. I'm very excited about this segment today because we're going to go super practical. Everybody listening can think of this as a training guide today for the doctors and the team.
Hey, I'm going to listen and learn, and I'll probably have a couple of questions at the end, but I'm going to turn it over to you, my friend.
Outstanding. So, Kevin, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but one thing dentistry and medicine have done is we have our own words and language. So, because this is a customer service series, I really have thought to myself, should we be calling our patients customers, at least in our own minds? So the segment today is called What Do Your Customers Really Want? And when I say customer, I mean patient. But now we're going from the academic overview of all of this into your practice. For anybody listening, this is about your practice. You can take these and run with it instantly. But when I say we have a different language, we have patients, not customers. We have fees, not prices. We have case presentation, not sales pitches, so we just have a different language that maybe years ago in my grandfather, who was a dentist, or my father, who was a dentist era, made us feel like we weren't so commercial. And I'm not suggesting we change that, but we do have a different language. I am suggesting to everyone, think of your patients as real customers. What a great concept that everyone who walks in is not there simply to get technical dentistry and we've done our job. That everyone who walks in is also there for a great customer experience. If we can do that, we can build practices, we can have happy patients, we'll get more referrals, we'll have more case acceptance, we'll have a team that's happier. Because if the patients aren't happy, the team isn't happy. Oh, and by the way, if the team isn't happy, the patients aren't happy. So let's get super practical. What do your customers really want? Well, of course, if you ask them, they're going to tell you they want a great dentist. And I have talked to hundreds of people, if not thousands over the years, that when they heard I was a dentist, because I travel a lot, so I meet people, they say, oh, I love my dentist. I have a great dentist. The reality is they don't know. I said forever, unless it's aesthetic dentistry, they have no idea if the dentistry is good or bad. They don't know if the margins are good. They don't know if they have periodontal disease. They don't know if the orthodontic case aligned everything perfectly. I remember going through the Pankey Institute program years ago, learning a lot about occlusion. I learned so much there and realizing that most of what we do does not end up with perfect occlusion. And even orthodontics, which is all about occlusion, is really more about getting close. It's not about perfect centric cusp to fossa markings. So when you ask a customer in life what they want, they don't always know. And a great example of that is Steve Jobs. We all love to talk about Steve Jobs as the creative innovator who founded Apple. And one of his core principles was, people don't know what they want, we will tell them. And in his case, with Apple and the iPhone and iPad, et cetera, and a multi-trillion-dollar value of the company, he's turned out to be right. Lee Iacocca created the minivan and brought back affordable convertibles. Nobody was asking for them. He said, oh, people will like this, and he was right. So I'm going to suggest to our listeners that if you ask your patients what they want, they're going to tell you they want great dentistry. And I'm going to counter by saying, they don't really know what that means. To them, it means we don't hurt them. To them, it means that things don't fall apart 6 months later. No patient that gets a root canal that fails 6 months later is ever happy, but it happens. And the key is in heroic endodontics to let them know up front it's heroic and may not work. But I would suggest that our patients judge our dentistry more by how we treat them as people than their knowledge and understanding of clinical dentistry. So for anyone listening that isn't thinking, well, I want to build my practice and have a great practice and have a great career, and 5-star customer service is the way to get there, I would suggest if you want to be known as a great dentist, treat your patients really well from a customer service standpoint. And that's why this whole podcast series, and Kevin, thank you again for doing this with me. Because I can bring this to our colleagues. This whole series is about 5-star customer service. So let's get practical. What can you do? What can your team do to create 5-star customer service. Now, these are not in order, but I will tell you, as the founder and CEO of a dental management consulting firm, we embed all of these into the systems that we put in practices. So our job is to grow production. And we do know how to grow production. In fact, I've identified 244 ways to increase practice production. Those get rolled into systems, those get put into practices, and practices grow. But what you might not think about for our listeners is we also then step back from the systems we create and ask, where do we embed the customer service opportunities to ensure that the systems, if they are followed, guarantee customer service success as well? And again, the better your customer service, the better your patients think you are as a dentist. Or another way to say it is, the more they believe they're getting great dentistry. Okay, so here we go. Number one, and these are in no order, but these are practical recommendations. You can do them instantly. If you have a great attitude, just start doing these things. I have one client in our company he's got 5 practices. He's a mega star as a dentist, as a business owner. He's done great. And I get 2 or 3 text messages from him a week after our tip of the day goes out in the morning or something he reads, just saying, yeah, Roger, right on, great idea. Or Roger, I knew this, but I've got to do it better. So here we go. Number one, smile all the time. I know we wear masks, but we don't wear them 24/7. Front desk people are typically not wearing them. COVID's behind us now. And you need a smile on your face. Here's my rule. If you see a patient's face, a smile should be on yours. It should be automatic. And it's going to take a little, this is like going to the gym. It's going to take a little effort, but it's free and it's not hard because the best customer service is usually free. So if you train yourself and your team, when I see you, I smile. Smile is critical. Why? Number one, and I said to everybody, there will be repeats in this series because it comes up in different ways. Number one, when you smile at somebody, we would all agree it says, I like you. Okay. If you're walking down the street and you see somebody and you're not sure about that person and they smile, we all feel a whole lot better. A smile is a universal way of saying, I like you. Number two, I'm making this up. There's no research. It's my ridiculous opinion. I believe when you smile, you release endorphins in your own brain that make you feel better, and you release endorphins in the brain of the recipient of the smile. Smile all the time. That's number one. Number two, every patient gets a compliment every single time. You never have a patient come in that doesn't get a compliment. And if they were to get a compliment from the front desk, the assistant, the dentist, and back at the front desk, as dentists, sometimes we go, oh, that's too over the top. That's too much. We're judging incorrectly. What do they want? I've never seen a complaint in the over 30,000 practices, doctors that we've consulted to in 41 years. I have never heard of a complaint from a patient and a bad review, you complimented me too much. I've never seen that. And you know what, Kevin? I think by the time I die, I'm still not going to have seen it. And if there's one patient in America, one time in 40 years, that gets upset because you compliment them too much, I can live with that. We'll be okay. People love compliments. And I'll tell you why. People want to be important. We all, when people say to you, I have no ego, that's an ego statement. It means I'm better than you at having no ego. People want to be important. And most people don't get much recognition of their importance. There are many people that go day after day after day. Nobody's complimenting them. Nobody's saying anything to them. Well, how hard is it for us to always find something positive to say to somebody as we contact them? Get in the habit of giving a compliment to every patient, every time, every day. By the way, those two things, smiling and compliments, you will automatically start to see happier patients. I've had people say to me, yeah, my patients seem to be easier. They're not easier. Well, they are easier, but they're not easier because they're easier. They're easier because you did nice things for them. A smile and a compliment, it sounds so simple, but it's powerful. Simple is often powerful. The next one, call your patients at night. Now, many dentists have heard that. I heard it in 1982 when I graduated. And you know what? I did it. And I always joke that there was a huge technology breakthrough in 1982 where they came up with the 16-foot phone cord for the phone. So you could actually do the dishes or something while you were calling your patients at night. And you had the phone resting on the side and you punch in the next one. Call your patients at night. Today, at least 70% of the time, it'll go to voicemail. Leave a message. If you don't want to call, text. Younger people love texting. They love to communicate by text. I love texting because it saves a lot of time. It avoids telephone tag. But reach out to your patients. Doctors and dentists are doctors, and doctors, physicians don't do this. And when you make that call or send that text, people are blown away. They're just like shocked. They're telling their friends, you won't believe this. My dentist called me. I have a story from years ago from a patient. I had an older patient, and I called every non-hygiene patient every night, even adjustments. I didn't call based on injections. I didn't call based on pain. I called for customer service. If you had a denture adjustment, I called to see how it was going because it was a great excuse to give great customer service. And one time something came up. I don't remember what it was. I couldn't make my calls. And this is after several years in practice. And this patient had been in quite a bit for different things. And the next morning, the patient called my office and said, why didn't Dr. Levin call me last night? I mean, it just highlights to me that this person, now they were elderly. Maybe I'm the only person who ever called them. Who knows? It's great. Next item, recognize your patient birthdays. Again, anybody who's saying, well, this is unsophisticated, you put it together, it's powerful. Recognize their birthdays. There was a dental school that was a Levin Group client. The school was our client to increase clinic production for 5 years. And the dean of the school, every year on my birthday at 6:30 in the morning, it was a thing he did. And, I said to myself, 6:30 in the morning, my birthday, this dean's going to call me. I appreciated it. It was, I teach this stuff. It's not meant to trick people. It's not meant to be gimmicky. It's powerful human relations. So whether you send a text, whether you send an e-card, whether you call, reaching out to people on their birthday, especially your older patients, blows them away. It's incredible. The next one is touch people. Now, I want to be careful with this one. We live in a world today where you don't touch your employees and we have sexual harassment and all the things we hear about on TV. And right now there's a huge trial going on all about that as we're doing these podcasts. I never name things so these can remain timely. But, when people come in, touching a hand of a patient, touching a forearm, putting a hand on a shoulder, very appropriate. People love that touch and saying, you're going to do great today, or this is going to be easy today, or you're not going to feel a thing today. Assistants can do it, dentists can do it, but that extra touch in what I understand from neuropsychology can be very powerful in just relaxing somebody. So touching it's a little bit of a joking subject today. Oh my gosh, don't touch people. I think we should touch people. Again, I've never heard of a patient suing an office or going after an office for touching a hand or a forearm or a shoulder.
Sure.
So those are all very, very important concepts. I'll give you two more, and then I'll turn it back to you, Kevin. And this will be continued in the next podcast as we go.
Great.
Listen to your patients. When you're an expert, and dentists are true experts. I mean, we don't realize there are only a few of us. You have to go to dental school. You got to pass a board. There aren't that many of us out there, even though you feel competition. We are experts. Experts cut people off. In fact, if I would criticize myself, there are many things I would criticize myself for, but one would be not interrupting people when I already know what I think they're going to ask. And by the way, sometimes I'm dead wrong, but making myself sit there and listen to the whole statement or question before I jump in with an answer. And maybe I've given that answer, 1,000 times. It doesn't feel good to the person who is talking. When your patients are talking, do two things: listen to them and do not interrupt. And that's hard. At least it's hard for me. We're running a fast-paced practice. I'm running a consulting firm. I talk to people all day long. I got my next call. I got my next appointment. I got to get to this. I got to get to that. Somebody's running late and somebody asked me a question, and halfway through, I know what they're asking. I know what the answer is. And sometimes I'm wrong. But even if I'm not wrong, I from a customer service standpoint, when you interrupt, you send a negative. Interrupting creates negative energy for people. And then they don't necessarily get mad or have a tantrum or slam the phone down on you. But if it doesn't, they may not even recognize it. It doesn't feel good. So, interrupting is something I've worked on personally for 41 years. So I'm sensitive to it. Let people talk it out. And by the way, dentists out there and office managers and staff members watching this, people get comfortable by talking through the conversation. You want to kill your case acceptance? Just start cutting people off and jumping in with answers before they're finished. Because it's not only that they're seeking your answer or your comment, they're trying to get comfortable. And I think we have killed billions of dollars of case acceptance by interrupting people. And then the last one I'll add to that is eye contact. Look people in the eyes. Now, I do an exercise in my seminars where I have people select a partner and stare into their eyes for 30 seconds. It is so uncomfortable. Most people can't do it. They cannot look. So you don't have to stare into their eyes. Pick a point on their forehead, pick their nose, whatever it may be, but pick a point and look at the patient. When you're making eye contact, or they feel you're making eye contact, they feel like you're paying critical attention to them and only them. I want your patients, when you're talking to them, to feel like they're the only person in the world. And what's beautiful about dentistry is you can't do it on Zoom. You can do a case presentation on Zoom. Less than 1% of dentists are doing anything on Zoom with their patients, or anything, online for case presentations. General dentists aren't doing it. Orthos under 4%. It's just not being used. I'm not unhappy about that. I live on Zoom. I love Zoom. It saved me so many trips that I used to have to get on a plane for. But what I like is, if you're with that patient and you're eye to eye looking at them and live, you got a much better chance of case acceptance than you'll ever have online. So again, make eye contact with your patients. So those are your practical, critical points for this segment. And Kevin, I'm open to questions that you may have.
I love that each of them are practical and each of them can be, as you said at the very start, implemented very easily. So here's a question I have for you, because we know that whenever you're talking about really listening and not interrupting, we know sometimes it's hard for people to be present at that moment because they're thinking about the next appointment, as you mentioned. Is it okay to turn that over to a team member, maybe to be your stead, shall we say, for questions? Or should the dentist be that expert and be right there and patient with the patient?
That is a really brilliant question, and there are two sides to the answer. One side is, and again, the beautiful thing is, I can report to you what we have seen, done, trained thousands of times. So, I always say I live in a giant laboratory. I don't just have ideas. We have lots of clients that want results. So if something isn't working, we better figure that out really fast. The team can be phenomenal. They can be absolutely a powerful source of talking to patients. And I have seen team members that can outsell dentists right and left. They've got great personalities. One thing to keep in mind is the things I'm teaching, most of us don't do automatically. There are a few naturals out there. They're people you meet and you feel like you just met your new best friend and you've been with them for 30 seconds. We had a president. I never met this president of the United States, but I was told by people who met him for 1 minute in a receiving line that in that 1 minute, you felt like you'd known him for years. It's just an incredible, powerful capability that very few, very, very few people have. I don't have it, certainly, but I've tried to learn these skills because I like people. I want people to like me. I like to relate to people. So a good team member, highly trained. The mistake is just saying, oh, Jody will now be the treatment coordinator or the financial coordinator. That's a great way to kill tons of cases. And by the way, when a patient rejects treatment, it's not because they're happy. They may come back, they may not be miserable, but when people reject treatment, it's not because they're happy. When people accept treatment, it's confidence, it's trust. So a great team member, highly trained, can be as good or better than a dentist. Now, having said that, we dentists have one thing nobody else has. We got a doctor in front of our name. And that doctor is an automatic confidence factor for patients. So I call it doctor power. When the doctor does anything with a patient, it's always more powerful than a staff member. So doctors are best However, a highly trained team member can be just as good. Here's the difference. Doctors don't have to qualify their skill set, knowledge, and capability. They're automatically seen as experts. Staff members need extra scripting that we put in when we train them to qualify themselves as experts because you want the patient to have confidence. So, great question. Not a simple answer, but the answers are crystal clear.
And it's good to know because I think so often it's hard to have that smile on the face. It's hard to have that focus whenever you're already thinking 3 steps ahead. And I think that's maybe one of the things that may be the most difficult of putting these things into practical action is putting out everything else in your mind and be able to focus ahead on that one person to give that compliment, to make sure there's a smile on their face and to listen as well.
Well, that's where the eye contact comes in. I've really studied eye contact because it sounds like just a simple thing, look in somebody's eyes. But eye contact also helps you focus. You can't be looking at a person thinking about your stock portfolio for too long. Okay. You're going to break away. So if you get in the habit of really looking at people, you are going to gradually be more focused on that person. And that helps you to be in that exact moment. When you're talking to a patient, you don't want your mind to be anywhere else. And actually that's a beauty of dentistry. If you want to have a more relaxing day, you don't multitask. Multitasking isn't just doing things. It's also in your head. Your thoughts are jumping around. When you can just go from patient to patient to patient calmly and relaxed with great customer service, you are present with that patient. You're going to be a whole lot less tired at the end of every day. Customer service, when you do it right, is fun. And fun is energizing, not debilitating.
These episodes have been fun, I think, and I think they've been
Yeah.
very informational as well. So this is part 5 of our customer service series that we're doing with Dr. Levin. And I'm so thrilled that we are doing this and he's taking time out of his busy schedule to educate and enlighten our audience. And I know we still have more to come. I know you, as you said, the next one's going to be more practical information. I can't wait to hear it.
Part two.
That's great.
Thank you, Kevin. This was great today. Thank
It's
you.
always great, my friend. Thank you so much. And as always, thanks to all of you for listening to this episode of the drbycuspid.com podcast. Yes, check back previous episodes so that if you're just now catching up, we want to make sure that you are fully informed moving forward. Till next time, it's Kevin Henry, editor in chief, signing off. And as always, wishing you nothing but success.